check out our store. Check out our fantastic sponsor, Beards by Nick. He's got a lot of great products. He's got a brand new store. And it is Movember.
Yeah.
And so,
and Movember goes into Mo December and Mo January and Mo February. And Mo March.
So you're going to need Mo beard oil.
Yeah, because it gets cold. You might as well just grow it out, guys.
Yeah, grow it out. Don't be wimps. Yeah. Grow a beard. Be a real craft beer guy and grow a beard.
No, it doesn't even have to go craft beer. It's called about keeping warm.
Well, that's fat.
It's called, that's true too. But your face is the only exposed part to the wind. So put some hair on it. But if you're going to put hair on it, go to Beard by Nick. Get some of that beard oil, beard balm,
shampoo, wipes, mustache wax.
Jesus Christ, that guy is what the hell?
He's a one-stop shop for your beard, man. He's got it all. He's doing
the barrel program at WeldWorks. What is it?
What doesn't he do?
Yeah,
he might juggle.
Maybe he might. I probably can't do taxes.
I heard that he's a taco juggler.
So that could go two ways. I'm not going to explain the ways on the air. One way is really racist.
Well, that's what you wanted to see when you went to GABF. You wanted to see a guy that made tacos and juggled.
I said brown special people. I said a juggling brown person. You brought a taco part.
That's all I'm saying. Is he might be able to juggle tacos. I don't know.
Only thing I know, he makes great beard oil
and
great beard wax and great beard shampoo, which I'm out of. I haven't used a beard wipe yet.
You got to get them, dude.
I have them. I always have them with me.
They're fucking awesome, man. I love them.
It just kind of throws me off when they're like, "What is that?" And I have kids, so I have kid wipes.
The it's not like, I mean, it's a game changer. You go out to dinner.
Drive me home? What the fuck a game changer?
It's a game changer. I'm telling you, man. You go out to dinner. You have some wings. And you got always, you know how you always got that feeling? Yeah. You always got that feeling that you got something in there, and it's like, you're like, oh, that's going to get crusty. You can smell it. Yeah. This, gone. No smell. Nice. Smells like a winter wonderland.
Christmas. If you want your beard to smell like Christmas.
Most of all, guys, become a patron.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's the patrons that keep this thing going. We don't get paid for this, believe it or not. We don't get paid for this.
really don't get paid for this.
Next year, man. Hopefully next year is like where we really take this thing to the next level.
Yeah,
that's what I see. We get
our work balanced out with our podcasting lives.
Yeah.
Because it took us a while.
It did,
when we were on, the shift work.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it took us a lot longer because it is, days and a lot of office stuff, and you get fucking tired of sitting down, and you're like, wait, I sat down for 12 hours. You want me to go to your house and sit down for another 4?
Maybe I get one of those stand-up tables where we can stand up and
walk around. Like, it just rotates the mics, and we have to walk around following it. I didn't keep talking back. Oh, shit, I'm slowing down. Fucking turn on slow. Oh, I'm back.
And if you're wondering what happened to episode 40... then you have to become a patron to find that out, because we have reserved that episode specifically for patrons. From the basement of the Hotheads Guide to the Galaxy World headquarters located in northern Colorado, this is the Hotheads Guide podcast. I'm Matt Reber.
I'm Brown Jake. On this episode, we answer the question, what craft beer goes well with football? And of course, like Levon Bell, it took us 11 weeks to figure out the answer.
Hey there, Hopheads and Beer Geeks. Welcome to another episode of the Hopheads Guide podcast, brought to you by Beards by Nick. With me, as always, is the man who puts the fat in Fat Tire. Jake the brown guy.
That's actually kind of disgusting. I was waiting for it. I'm like, is he going to say Fat Tire? Is he really going to say Fat Tire? I told you the story of the Tour de Fat that I'd have with my old Derek Madrid.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are always good times. Everybody knows that Fat Tire or New Belgium puts on their own little Tour de Fat.
Yes.
And it's kind of a little festival, and the biggest one is always held in Fort Collins, which I've actually never gone to one. Have you?
So I went 1 year and was like, okay, I did it. I don't really care to go again. Yeah. It was obnoxious.
Yeah, so, but we used to have this little thing where we'd jump on our bikes on a random weekend and ride our bikes through all the breweries. Well, my roommate would call that Tour de Fat because it was two fat guys on bikes.
Not because you were wearing tutus and funny outfits.
That was my everyday wear. So.
that's what you wear normally when you go to a brewery.
If you show up to a brewery in a suit, be like, whoa, that guy's really going out there.
This does not fit well.
So, but yeah, that was always good times. Now, I think of back in the day when we used to do that, it was only like 4 breweries. And now it'd be like almost 10. Well,
you wouldn't be fat by the time you got done with it.
I know.
You'd be really drunk.
Yeah. Well, we were still both drunk. So it was back in the day when you used to get free tasters and not have to
back when you could sit down at New Belgium and freaking basically drink half the day and not pay a dime.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to go to a tour? Yeah, we want to go on a tour.
Yeah. I miss those days. And then it wasn't bad for a while. They went with the little token system, and you could go in and get your tokens and, have a few beers. And I would usually sit there long enough that, like, some tourist would come in and have gotten his I think it was 3 tokens that they gave you.
Yeah.
And some tourist was like, oh, I already had 2. I don't really want my other one. So he'd give me another token, and I'd always stash one away, or Nico would give me a handful of them or something. But now you actually have to pay cash money. Or go when Nico's there.
Just go when Nico's there. I don't pay at New Belgium.
Yeah, I don't go.
I like their beer. I'm not in love with it. Sometimes, but there is those rare points that you go to the brewery and they have something on tap that is just the brewery only release.
Right.
That is freaking awesome. So, yeah, you just look out on those times, and then you bother Nico every single week because you have to have some of that beer. But then they get rid of it, and then you're like, okay, Nico, I'll call you like maybe next year.
Yeah.
So, but I love going there. I went there a couple months ago. I love what they did with the place. They really kind of changed it, made it more open, and I mean, it's still one of the. It's everybody asks. I'm going to Northern Colorado. What breweries do I have to go to? If you haven't been to New Belgium, you have to go.
Yeah, it's still worth going. I mean, it's an experience, regardless of the fact that they've basically outgrown their britches a little bit. Oh, yeah. But it's a place that you have to go to. It's kind of like it's kind of turned into an experience when you go there. Oh, yeah. So it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of breweries that have outgrown their bridges, Weldworks announced today that they basically bought out the city.
Oh, yeah. Well, Greeley's not that big.
But so they announced today that they officially own the building, and they own
the building next to it.
The building next to it and the building behind it. And I'm not sure, but I think they bought the progressive school that's right there with them that they share the parking lot with.
Yeah, because I actually saw tanks moving in there. So whatever those kids are learning, it's really progressive.
So it's very progressive, yeah.
Like, hey, we could brew beer here, and the employees can't drink it.
Yeah.
So this is the greatest idea ever.
Well, I saw on Instagram that they had a pizza party for the kids at the progressive school, so maybe that was like their, guess what, kids? You get pizza, but you had to have your shit out by next weekend.
I know. Yeah, we kind of bought your school. You got to go somewhere else. My bad. Your parents are alcoholics.
But it's good for Greeley. It really is. And it's good. I mean, good for Weldworks. Congratulations to Weldworks, of course. But I mean, it's good for Greeley is what it really is good for, because basically has solidified the fact that Weldworks won't be going anywhere.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, we talked on one of our previous episodes that if they don't expand there, their only option is going to be to like go outside of town.
Yeah.
And for them to continue to keep downtown Greeley their home is only going to improve Greeley. So,
because I mean, they could really look at it and be like, "Hey, people are coming up from Denver for our stuff. Why are we not open in Denver place?"
Yeah.
You know, like Odell's, like everybody else is doing. You know, why? You know, have the money here when we could be even selling more beer down there.
Right.
But I'm glad. I love that they're keeping it up here. It's kind of one of those funny things where people always, "Hey man, I heard about this brewery in Greeley. Where's that at?" You know, and it's like, well, it's kind of near Fort Collins, and they come up here and like, this is nowhere near Fort Collins.
Start driving east and follow the smell.
Yep,
and you will get there. Yeah, but it's good. I mean, I'm excited for WeldWorks. I'm excited for us as beer drinkers, just for the fact that now we know that WeldWorks won't be moving out to BFE or forced to move somewhere else.
By a large farm and like Chester King and
yeah.
Maybe we could go.
Which actually that would be pretty cool. Like that aspect of it, I think I would like. But it's going to be good. It's going to be good for downtown. So.
Oh yeah, and I think. From when I first moved to Windsor, and when I first moved to Fort Collins, I used to go with my aunt and uncle. They would always go to downtown Greeley.
Yeah.
Because the Rio there, they only always charge $5 for their margaritas, where the one in Fort Collins always ups their charge.
Yeah.
And most of the time they don't do the 3 count, so they'll throw in a couple extra for you. So. We used to go always there, and it's actually kind of funny that you kind of see their little downtown area just keep growing and growing. And they do those Fridays where you could have open container and walk around the street and drink beers and kind of stop and get a beer here at one place and just kind of keep walking down. They have bands and stuff like that. So they're really involving with what's going on in their area.
Yeah.
So they're not anybody like I was worried that with the breweries going up, they were going to kind of shut them down, but they're like, no, let's bring these people in. They built that hotel. What happens? WeldWorks Invitational gets thrown at it. And you get a shit ton of people that come to Greeley. So.
Yeah. And I think that one of the biggest things that's going to come out of it, Nick, Beards by Nick, just so happens to work at WeldWorks as well, is now in charge of their barrel program. And he kind of walked me through the new area. And it's going to be really good because now there's going to be a lot more of those delicious barrel-aged stouts that they are really known for at this point, that and the IPAs. But, I mean, with Medianoche and the Acromatics, those are the ones that people are really after. And it's created a whole lot more space to expand that, which is going to be good for everybody. And, of course, there will be some souring of beers as well.
Yeah, it happens. But with them, I don't mind it. It's not like they're changing their whole setup to sour.
Right.
I understand, like, people love their Gozas, and but you have to, and they're keeping everything kind of different.
Yeah.
They're not just, oh, you know what, I'm throwing out what I was known for. No more juicy bits. I'm just going super sours, So
right.
I think they're not trying to alienate anybody in Greeley. They're still saying, hey, no, we're still going to we'll have a sour, we'll have a lager, we'll have an IPA, steam barrel, and a juicy IPA, and a stout, but we're going to go way crazy with Medianoche and have it in barrels for 2 years and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So I like it that they keep a lot of choices when you go there. You don't have to. You can't. There's always something you're going to love there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And this weekend they're doing their celebration of 100 beers. Just another reason. Apparently they did it just so that they could make sure they had enough money to pay the down payment on all of the new property that they're buying. $3
billion days this year. We probably need one more.
One more,
and kids are out of school.
I think I'm gonna send Arnie a text message and tell him, since they made that beer called Evil Haze Factory, maybe they should just turn the school into a tiny brewery that they call the Evil Haze Factory, and all it does is just pump out hazy IPAs, and then they have the main brewery that does all the other stuff, and it's just like this little
working there with little hairnets on, like Laverne and Shirley just watching cans go by.
Yeah. I think it'd be great, man.
That'll really put Greeley on the map. Child labor. You heard it here first.
But and also with that, you have Wiley Roots right down the street that is expanding as well.
Oh yeah.
And between those two, within less than a half a mile of each other, that little area of Greeley is going to become a powerhouse of delicious beer.
Oh yeah.
And
it's almost like the pre-New Belgium Odets. When
a little bit, yeah.
Those were that was Fort Collins right there. That was the two you'd go to, and then you kind of hit everybody else after that. But you had Cooper Smith's, but Cooper Smith's was always the old town. Like, oh, we'll go there and have a beer later, and then we'll go out in the old town later after that. But
yeah.
So it is kind of reminds me of those first two getting off, and they're right by each other, and you could basically bike or walk. Well,
I hear they're gonna just create a train that goes between the two.
That would actually be cool.
So you just have this little train that goes back and forth between the two.
It shouldn't be a real train. It should be like two guys with one of those little pump things that goes back and forth.
the
two-handle. That'd be awesome.
I think that's great. There's the new Tour de Fat right there.
They're like, hey, whoa. How much you weigh, dude? Sorry, you're going to have to walk. What? Come on.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pumping for a fat guy like you.
I like the idea. I'm gonna pitch that along with the Evil Haze Factory, trademark, patent pending, and I think we could make some money if we just started that ourselves.
We have an easel. What are you guys brewing? We're not brewing anything. We just have the factory.
The only thing we have to worry about are the real trains that go through there on a regular basis.
That just kick in and kick everybody off.
Yeah.
Like, okay, get off.
You guys hear that horn? That means the ride is over.
Yeah. But, I mean, there's a future right there if the train ever shuts down, if teleportation ever becomes a thing. And they're like, what are we going to do with all these tracks? Well, there's one between us and Wiley. Let's get one of those pump things. Let's go for it.
I love it. I love the idea. It's the new Tesla motors.
Speaking of trains, so during Halloween weekend, I took my kids down to the train museum in Golden.
Yeah.
And they actually have a train that takes you around the museum. So my daughter was super psyched. She loves trains. So she was loving that she got to ride on a train. It didn't go that far. I mean, it was maybe a quarter of a mile.
Yeah. And
it's like 2 circles they do. But while we were in Golden, I went back to New Train.
Nice.
We went there when I turned 40. And I took my dad.
You didn't remember going there? Was that the problem? Like, no, when you turned 40, you're like...
I remember going there.
Shit, where did I go again?
Our thing was we were staying in Golden. The whole bad part is I knocked out all the breweries in Golden. So there was nothing new for me to go to. So he was like, do you want to go get a beer? And I'm like, well, shit. If I want to go to something new, we're got to go down towards Denver and go, and it's going to take us 15, 20 minutes to get to. But New Train's right here.
And I know it's delicious.
And they make great beer, so why not just go there? So, and I wanted, my pops loves breweries, so I love showing them new breweries that just have unique, they're just really unique. And he loved that place. He thought that place was really
So cool. It was new to him?
Yeah.
So that counts.
Yeah, it counts, but it counts for his list for this year.
Yeah.
So I think my dad's almost beating me right now. So we went there, and it was kind of funny because it is holiday weekend. They had a big holiday or a Halloween party and a costume party. So a lot of people were dressed up. They had a really awesome New England style IPA, their North Star version 5. I think talking to the guy there, that's the one they're dialing into. I think he was like, I think we're going to keep this one, and that's going to become our regular on tap.
Oh, right on.
So, it was really good. It was beyond like hazy IPA. Like, did the 3. It was really hazy. It was juicy, but it had that bitterness that reminds you as an IPA.
Nice.
Sometimes the IPA, the hazy ones that you get the juicy, but there's no bitter, and I just don't like those. It's just like, okay, you call it an IPA, have some bitterness to it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you have no bitterness, it should be classified as something else.
Right.
So, and then we went to Cannonball Creek down in Golden. I still love that place. I only had one beer there. I kind of wanted to go back. So I took him back over there. They had a Mexican lager and a Vienna lager on tap, and that were on point. They were really awesome. I felt bad for them because I guess the main road that goes up towards their place is getting like totally repaved and redone. So they were completely dead.
Oh man! Just because people didn't want to deal with the construction.
Oh yeah. So I felt so bad. It was like, you know, Halloween weekend. On their Facebook, they were supposed to have a band. They were supposed to have this food truck. They were going to do this, you know, prize party. And we went in there, and I'm like, oh, doesn't look like a lot of people are dressed up. He's like, yeah, we had to cancel all that. It's like, because they started doing that construction on the road, and people were just like, I'm sorry, we're not going to make the trip.
Man, that's too bad. It's something like that can kind of like hurt a brewery for the long haul because people get used to, oh well, the road construction, I'm not going to go. Yeah. Then the road construction's over, and by that time they've already found someplace else that they want to go to. Or I mean, I'm not saying that it's like going to ruin a brewery, especially not a brewery like Cannonball Creek that does such great beers, but it's tough on an industry like that relies so much on people in their tap room,
especially this was a Saturday night. Like, man, if you can't, you know, at least be 75% full on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
You know, that's when your key nights, like Friday, Saturday, you got to be making your money.
Right.
You know, and you get that every time you go to the High Hops, you go on a Friday, Saturday, man, you're standing.
Yeah.
If you're not there early, you're going to be standing and trying to find a place to sit. So, it just, I felt bad for him. So we threw him a couple extra bucks. But my dad, I thought I've told him about crowlers. I've taken him crowlers to him. But he was amazed that they had crowlers. So, and he really loved their Mexican lager. So he got like 4 of their crowlers to go. So he was like, well, do you guys do a 4-pack or a 6-pack? And he's like, sir, there's 32-ounce cans. He's like, okay, well, then I'll take 4.
He's like, the question still stands.
Like, where's the logic in that? It's like, well, I only drink my beer at a gallon at a time, so I want 4 of those. Like, I couldn't figure it out. I'm just like looking at him. He's like, well, is there a discount? Like, if I buy 3, like the 4th one's half off? He's like, no. He's like, they're $12. What
if I buy 10?
He's like, all right, well, then I'll take 4. You were just going to get 4.
I think your dad needs to work on his negotiating skills.
He is the worst at that. Sometimes he's just like, all right, he'll ask. Like, so if I buy 4 of these, you know, can I get like a free 5th one? No? Oh, okay, well, I'll take 4.
Well, go ahead and get 5 anyway.
Well, they'll just get that 5th for the
road. That's good. Good stuff. All right, I got to let you taste this beer. I don't know if I have another. Let me go see if I have another. So I'm drinking Outer Range's Triple Canopy, and I picked this up while I was up there for my 40th birthday. And when I bought it, it was hot. Like, I mean, it's a 10% beer. Yeah. And I was like, man, this is just a little too hot to drink. The hops were still really powerful with it, but it has found its sweet spot.
Oh, yeah.
And this is my last can. Yeah, I'm like, damn it, I should have waited a little longer.
You find that sweet spot, like, on the 4th can of 4, and you're like, motherfucker.
Yeah, I should have just waited a little longer.
And we did that. Remember, it was like that double dry hop Galaxy Juicy Bits.
Yeah.
We bought that, and I was like, oh, this sucks, dude. It is hot. And then we both like, dude, have you tried it lately? It's at its sweet spot. Yeah. You have to. And I was like, no, but I have a growler of it. Well, pop it open, because it's the best thing. And you had to enjoy it at the time. But I think, you know, we talked about that. We bought beer and been like, oh, it's hot, so I'm going to just grab a 6-pack, and I'm going to let it settle for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to have one. And if it's still hot, I'm going to give it another 2 weeks. So.
Yeah, so, I mean, for one, it's 10%.
Yeah.
So it's going to have like an alcoholic burn to it, but it has Galaxy Citra, Mosaic Citra Hallertau hops in it, and the Hallertau were very, like, it was obvious, like it had that like spicy sharp bitterness at the end. And I was like, man, this is just a little bit too strong right now. I'll give it a couple weeks. Gave it a couple weeks, had one. I was like, nah, it's still just a little strong. I'll give it another week. Had another one. We're getting closer,
And then you forgot about it.
And then I had one last weekend, and I was like, okay, it's right there. It's close. And I wasn't even paying attention to the fact that this was my last one whenever I opened it. But I'm glad I did, because it's perfect right now. And
see, and that's when you do if you do an Untapped review and you find that out, just put on point right now, drink it.
Yes. You know? Yeah.
So people are like, what are you oh, I got one of those in my fridge. I'm popping that open.
Well, I'm going to try and get this episode out by Monday. So if you're listening to this and you have Outer Ranges Triple Canopy, then crack it open now, because right now I think it's right where it needs to be. And it's funny with hoppy beers, everybody's all about, you got to drink them right away. You got to drink them fresh. No. But I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that you have to sometimes let the hops settle a little bit and let the flavors kind of blend together, and then you find that spot where you're just like, yep, I'm drinking all 4 of them right now.
Yeah, because right now in my basement I have a cellar, and I have a short-term cellar, and that's called a refrigerator.
So and then I have a really short-term cellar, which is the beer in my hand. Yeah.
That's going into my belly. But it almost becomes that point. We go to Weld and we get their flavor of the week, and you try it on tap, and you're like, whoa, that's hot.
Yeah.
I'll take 2 4-packs of that.
Yeah.
And that's going in the back of the fridge.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to wait on that and I'm going to have one 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
See where it's at. And it's just kind of funny, but it's ridiculous when you try it. And then you go to rate it on a tap, like, oh man, it's all right. It's not great. But then you see 4.2, 5, 5. And then, okay, wait a minute, guys. And then you go back and you do your 2 weeks, and it starts to settle down. Like now, that's like a 4 1/4, 4.5.
Yeah, this is a good beer right now. And it was an excellent beer when I had it on tap at the brewery. I was like, man, this is a really good beer. And, it was my birthday. I was celebrating. I was already a little drunk anyway. And I'm like, fuck it, a 10% beer. I don't give a shit. And I took a big swig of it and was like, whoa.
Massive burning.
So, Triple Canopy right now is really fucking good. And I'm not just saying that because I've already drank half of it and I'm feeling every bit of the 10% that's in there. It's good right now. It's lost a little bit of the sweetness from being it's still sweet, but it's lost a lot of what it had before. But
sometimes you have to just let that go to get to that good, nice, easy drinking. Because to me, if you didn't tell me this was a 10, I would probably, I thought it would probably be like a 7 or an 8.
Yeah. It's definitely still got the burn in the back.
It has a little bit of burn, but not like a 10%, you know. So it's really good.
Yeah. And I love that, they added Hallertau to a hazy IPA.
Oh, yeah.
A nice traditional hop. And, they brought that back into the, the IPA realm.
They're bringing it back.
With a vengeance.
They're like, we have freaking cellars and cellars for Hallertau because we're going to be an IPA brewery. Stupid hazy comes along. We have to buy all this Galaxy.
So we talked a little bit about... Weldworks growing and Wiley Root growing, but we got new breweries right here in our backyard as well. And we got 2 new breweries, one in Windsor, and one just opened today in Timnath called Timnath Beer Works. The new one the new one in Windsor is called Mighty River.
Yep.
And it's built basically like in a country club. I mean, it's built right in Highland Meadows, which is, a really nice golf course.
Old people galore.
Yeah, and it's right down the road from the Budweiser Event Center. Fantastic location, except for the fact that it's really hard to find, really hard to get to. Once you know where it is, it's not that bad. But if it's your first time going there, you would have no idea that there was even a brewery there.
Is it like Ex Novo when we parked like 10 blocks away and then kept going, it's right here. It's
right. Yeah, and that's so I looked at the address and I looked at it on the map and I was like, oh, I know exactly where that is because it's right across the street from the driving range. And I love the driving range there, and that's where I like to practice when I practice golf. So I was like, hey, I know exactly where that is. Well, I got over there and they've built all these new like office buildings over there, and it's in the middle of these office buildings. And I was like, okay, all of these are still under construction. Like all of it's still basically being built. And I was like, maybe it's not open, but I've seen people post their beers. Like I know that they're here, and I finally drove by it and noticed this little yard sign that said brewery and had a blue arrow like painted on it, and was like, oh, there it is. And
you were just waiting for that Mexican guy with the big sign, like
the spinner sign, brewery. But anyway, I finally found it, and all I can say is I'm disappointed I found it.
We've always talked about this, and it comes back down to when a place opens, I don't go with the notion that they're going to have the greatest beer ever. If they have a really good beer, tops off to them. But sometimes I feel like some places get pushed open so quickly because they have to make that money, and beer does take a while to make. That they're not expecting that. So I just feel bad. So hey, it happens. I think we've been to a couple places like that.
We have, and by no means am I saying that I'll never go back. I was just really disappointed because it's been a long time, a very long time, that I've gone into a brewery and just been amazed by how bad it was. Like, actually sitting there, and they were swamped.
Yeah.
Because, A, they're right in the middle of a neighborhood, so they've got all that local business. Plus, it was the night of an Eagles game, the local hockey team.
Oh, so everybody had to go try it before the game.
So, yeah, there was a lot of people there, like, right before the game. And I was just shocked by how bad it really was. And the service wasn't that great, and so I don't know. I'm hoping that it improves. I mean, I don't want any bad breweries in my area. Like I don't want that. But man, I was disappointed. I really was. Like it's a nice place. It's really, really nice place. They got a really nice patio. In the summertime, it's probably going to be a really great place to go, especially after a round of golf.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know that they got a lot of work to turn it around.
Got to get some of that stuff taken care of.
Yeah.
And see, when a place opens like that, if I have bad service day one, I don't judge them on that because they are opening a brewery.
And this wasn't day one. They've been open they've been open well over 2 months.
Well, but I think that it was kind of their grand opening weekend. Like they're like full publicized grand opening.
No.
Oh, it wasn't?
No, they had that. They've been open for a while.
Okay. So
yeah, it's not like I didn't just happen to catch them on like the grand opening weekend.
It's it's usually like growing pains. They're usually getting used to it. They're not like a corporation like Applebee's. Or,
No, I get it.
We gotta have 30 bartender staff for this because we're gonna be super busy.
Yeah.
But it is if we went on there like on a Monday or Tuesday or a Wednesday during the day, and you get shitty service, that's when I'm like, you guys just open and you can't freaking keep care of the guys the 5 guys that come here on a Wednesday,
right?
Then your service must really suck on a Friday, Saturday night. So it's one of those like people just kind of ask, oh, have you heard about this? I was like, yeah, I've heard about them, but I haven't heard anything else about them. I just heard another brewery's open in Windsor, which I can't believe our third brewery in Windsor is opening like still over there off of Crossroads. That's like not even in the town of Windsor. Yeah, but I mean that's where there's a huge population of people that have money. So why wouldn't you move over there? And I can understand that, but it just I was You know what? If you think about it, if we didn't have that fire, we might have the third brewery of Windsor being opening down the road
right,
by now.
Yeah.
Which that's what they were planning on being was this last summer. That's when the brewery was supposed to open.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So and now they're just basically putting the foundation back on that building.
I saw that.
Yeah. But to that note, I went to a grand opening today.
Yep.
Of Timnath Beer Works. It was their first day.
For people who don't know, Timnath is about the size of the buildings that WildWorks owns in Greeley.
Yeah, like the whole town of Timnath.
The whole town of Timnath
yeah.
is a 1 block by 1 block square.
Yeah. And yeah, so I think the entire town of Timnath plus their friends and family were there because it was packed.
Nice.
And there's been a lot of talk about this brewery. They opened up in a historic building, the Colorado Feed and Grain, which was an old grains elevator, and then also a very popular bar and restaurant.
Oh yeah.
And that building has kind of a storied history. You know, it's caught fire a few times. It's the restaurant has opened and closed under new management. But they went through and they completely redid the whole building. It reminds me a lot of old Colorado.
Nice.
Because it's got the stacked 2x4s, creating the walls and things like that. And the brewery's beautiful. The beers are flawless. Every single one of them was really good. Even their IPAs, they had an IPA flight that I was just absolutely shocked by.
Nice.
I mean, the fact that every single one of them was really good. They had an hazy IPA, and they were packed, and they handled it. They were doing well with the service. People were friendly. They had it figured out. You can tell that they put a lot into planning and getting things figured out before they opened.
Nice.
And that, to me, that's like what you have to do now. When you open a brewery, you have to make it seem like it's not your first day.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, if I had walked in there, a guy from out of town that didn't know it was their first day, I would never have known. I would just been like, man, this place is really popular. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And I would have never known.
You guys must be open for years.
Yeah, yeah, like you guys haven't figured out. So, I was very impressed with them. I'm very impressed with the building. I've brought a beer back. We'll do a beer short after this, and one of their IPAs. Nice. And this one I actually didn't get to taste. I purposely did not taste this one so that I could have kind of that surprise when we do the beer short. So.
Whoa! He's gonna open the can and a freaking monkey jumps out. Whoa!
Monkey in a can!
Monkey in a can!
That's awesome!
That's gonna be the name of one of my beers. Monkey in a can!
Monkey in a can! All right, man. Well, let's jump into what we came here to talk about. And that is how I kicked your ass in fantasy football last week.
I don't know what the hell. I've been killing it. I was like, all right, this is gonna be a slider week. I laid back. I may bench a couple guys just to rest them.
Doesn't work that way.
I don't want to get anybody hurt. I actually thought, dude, that would be a hilarious ESPN commercial. like you have Todd Gurley and they're like, hey Gurley, the coach is like, all right, you're up. He's like, no, I'm all right, coach, I'm just gonna relax this one. He's like, no, we need you in there. He's like, no, Jacob has me going and he doesn't need me this week because
he benched me. Jake benched me this week.
He has me. He's already got his playoff spot. He needs me next week, so I'm going to rest up for next week. Who the hell is this Jacob? He doesn't pay your paychecks. That'd be a great fantasy football. So ESPN, you're listening to me right now, or Fox Sports, whatever. That would be the perfect.
Set it up where there's a direct line, and if a majority of the people in the league bench a player, it benches the guy for the
guy. So we talk about why aren't you taking me for number 1 pick? And they always have this, this hilarious. The coach is like, go on, get out there. And he's like, no, I'm sorry.
See, that's going to add a new complexity to it, though, because you're going to have like this battle of the people that benched him and didn't bench him. The guy that needed that win, so they have him playing.
Oh, yeah.
And, well, they lose out because the majority of the people decided to bench him.
Bench Gurley. Like, it's going to start. I'm going to start it right now. Because if I win next week and the 2 guys in my division lose, I have my division. You have a tough division this season. No, not really.
You are the reason why it's a tough division, mainly because you're for one, there's been some stupid trades that have made your team into a ridiculous team, and
it is called Powerhouse.
And next year, I will be starting a campaign to basically get the new guy kicked out of the league because that was a fucking dick move, in my opinion. I still think there's some collusion going on there.
We went back and forth. He agreed on that one trade.
Yeah.
Which
is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mahomes for Carlos Hyde and
it was Mahomes and Le'Veon Bell for Hyde and Kirk Cousins.
And Hyde got hurt the very next week.
Hyde got traded.
Traded the next week. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I've gotten like triple the points from Holmes because Bell hasn't been playing.
Yeah.
From what he's gone from Cousins.
Yeah.
Dude, I had to go for it because, 1, of Mahomes. 2,
why not? Yeah.
2, when Bell comes back, I have the number 1 pick and the number 2 pick on my team.
If Bell comes back.
And
if Bell comes back, he still has to worry about Connor, and Connor's been killing it, so I don't think that...
Connor just got a concussion last weekend, or yesterday.
He's still on protocol, so, I mean...
We'll see. What protocol means? He now remembers his name. But he doesn't remember playing football. So if you're a Steelers fan, you got to look at it that way. Like, oh shit, we have a guy that's killing it. Oh wait, he's in concussion. Is this guy coming back?
Yeah, let's start negotiations.
No.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, I mean, this isn't just about how I wiped the slate with Jake last week. I mean, really, let's not.
Second loss of the season. How many losses do you have for this season?
I don't remember a lot. Hey man, it meant a lot to me that my team showed up that week. Like, of all weeks to show up, it had to be against you.
I know,
and I'm glad they did.
Fuck. I was like, it's gonna be close. It's gonna be close.
And it wasn't.
And then I turned away, and then all of a sudden I look, and I'm like, how is he projected to get 144 points? What the hell happened? It was supposed to be like 110. I'm supposed to get projected 110. I'm still projected to get 110. How's he projected one? And then how does Miami's defense score 2 touchdowns out of nowhere?
Right.
They were barely like having like 6 points. All of a sudden they score 25.
I streamed them that week too. I was like, I'm taking a shot here. I'm playing Brownie. I got to take a flyer, and it worked. It paid off for me. So
that's what got me in the playoffs last year. Was I'd stream my defense every single week.
Yeah.
Like I fucking would drop. And yeah, I paid a lot for it, but I still ended up second place in the league. You know,
and you won the points. So
I didn't win points.
Oh, that wasn't last year. You didn't win the points, but you will this year. You're like 200 points ahead of everybody.
No, well, Kenny's right behind me.
Yeah, and I think you got him by what, 250, 275,
60 points.
You have him by 60.
Yeah.
Okay, you have me by at least like 250.
Yeah. There's some points that have like some teams that have like 700 and something total points. I'm like at 1,000.
You're a little higher than 1,000 because I'm at 11. No, I'm at 1050 right now.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'm at like 1,200. Yeah. I don't know. It was a tough week last week, but it was good.
Yeah.
Fantasy football always brings it's fun to do. If you have not done fantasy football, just do it. It makes the game more entertaining. Like even if you're not a fan of a team.
Yeah.
I've seen people that are just like, oh, like Nico. He's a Broncos fan and somewhat of a Green Bay fan, but I think he loves football more now.
Yes.
Since he's been playing fantasy football.
Yeah.
He goes, dude, I used to never watch an early game because the Broncos always played at 2:00. So there was no reason to watch an early game.
Yeah.
And now he's like, oh yeah, if I have a player going in an early game, I have that shit on.
And which now you have like 3/4 of your team playing an early game because they are doing so many more early games now.
Oh yeah.
It's
ridiculous.
You'll have what, 8 early games and then
like 4 afternoon games.
Like 3 or 4 afternoon games. And the weeks that they're playing in London, it's even worse than that. You'll have 8 early games and 2 afternoon games. Yeah. I mean, it's...
Oh, and then the 7 o'clock in the morning game.
Yeah.
For the Eagles, the holiday weekend, Halloween weekend. So,
right, yeah.
So we were staying in that hotel, and, I was like, all right, I have to make sure I get up at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning to watch the Eagles play.
Yeah.
So,
and watch the game before I have to check out of the hotel, basically.
But I still did it. Like, it's one of those things you want to do, which makes for a long day of football, even longer than it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I woke up that day, sat down, had a big bowl of cereal, got about, I don't know, maybe through the first quarter, passed out. Woke up when the 11 o'clock games were starting. I was like, oh, well, shit. It's like, I missed that game.
If I was in college, like, we used to, go out to the bar on Sunday to Pitchers and drink beers and watch football at 11 o'clock all the way through the night game. And so
absolutely.
And about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So you're talking about 10 hours of drinking. Think if they had London games back then. The bar would open at 7 o'clock in the morning, and you just stay there and sit and drink and eat until 9 o'clock at night. You're talking 14 hours you'd be at a bar watching football.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I felt bad. Like, I usually like to have a beer and watch a football game. Like, anytime the Eagles play, I love to just sit and relax. But when they play at 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm like sitting there going, okay, wait a minute. I can't have my beer now.
It's 7 o'clock in the morning. I need to watch the 11 o'clock games at the very least.
Because at least that's 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
People are like, it's Sunday.
Yeah.
You could drink a beer at 11 o'clock and people are like, oh, it's Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
if you drink a beer at 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, people are like, whoa, what's going on? You may have a problem, son. No, the Eagles are playing. So, but that's what we came here to talk about was football
and craft beer. Yeah. And really the two go together really well.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they go together hand in hand. And a lot of football now, not only in professional football but college football, are embracing the fact that craft beer is so popular.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of where this topic came from, because it got me thinking, and this was when I was watching football last weekend. I literally had my day mapped out of what beers I was going to drink that day, what order I was going to drink them in, and trying to time it out so that I was drinking that specific beer at this specific moment.
I can't drink this beer. Did they kick off? Oh, they called a timeout with 5 seconds left to go before the end. Why would you call it? Motherfuckers!
Don't you know I'm trying to open a beer?
The next beer's a triple IPA. Fuck! Is your team losing? No! They're kicking their ass. Well, I don't know why they called the timeout.
Yeah, exactly, man. And it's so, that's what it's come to for me anyway. So that's what I'm all about. I just want to drink beer on Sunday.
Oh yeah.
And watch football.
I think it always, Sunday was always watch football, drink beer, relax. When Nikki and I moved in together, she didn't realize how much football really was part of my Sunday routine.
Right.
She loved it because I'd always get up early. She didn't always thought it was kind of weird that I started drinking early, but she kind of just got used to it because I would go and make breakfast. But then I would start planning lunch.
Yeah.
And so I was like, wait a minute, well, games haven't started yet, and lunch doesn't start until the halftime of this game. So just to let you know, but I would do all this stuff, and I would
start prepping and get ready. Yeah,
and then I would be like planning dinner, but I would have beer ready. Like, okay, I'm gonna do this light lager for the early game, but then, I'm gonna move to this. But if this team loses, then I'm going to this. Because I got to drown my sorrow. Because the Eagles always played early, so most of the time, if they lost, I was pissed. So it went from going from a nice 5% to like a 10% freaking barrel aged something.
Yeah.
And then dinner was out the works because I was too pissed. But if they won, I was happy. So I drank my 6% IPA and enjoyed the afternoon games.
Yeah.
If I was winning in fantasy football. And then it could all change out of that.
Go downhill really quick.
And then we always would watch the afternoon. It don't matter who played, we would watch the afternoon game.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, who are you cheering for? I'm not cheering for nothing. I have the fucking quarterback. You better at least throw 3 touchdowns because I'm down by 15 points.
But the problem, I also have the opposing defense, and so I want him to score touchdowns, but I also want him to get an interception and a pick 6.
And if the defense could run kicks back, would be really awesome.
That would be awesome.
It doesn't go against my freaking quarterback. So yeah, if you try to explain fantasy football to anybody who doesn't ever watch football, they'll be like, "What?"
They would think you're a crazy person. Yeah. So you're telling me that you're cheering for that offense and that defense, and you want him to win and him to win? I don't. But they're playing each other. How does that work?
I know it becomes, and it's a great time, but it also goes well with beer. So you may have your plan. But your plan can deviate. You probably had your plan is going perfectly.
Yeah.
Because you're kicking my ass in fantasy. You have games on. You're playing. Yeah. But that could have totally went if somebody, if you went, Mahomes just fucking threw for 6 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Mother.
So here was my dilemma last week so I used to be a Rams fan. Rams abandoned me and moved to LA, and I
abandoned you. They're like, you know what? I'm sorry, Matt.
It was personal, okay?
It's not you. It's us. It was just one time we went to LA. It was so much fun. We just want to move there. You're like, no.
I was hurt, okay? I was hurt, and I still am. But since then, trying to stick with my Missouri roots. I've started, cheering for the Chiefs a little bit over the last couple of years. And this year they're fun to watch. Mahomes is a lot of fun to watch. So I was having this internal dilemma of, man, I really would like to see the Chiefs win, but fucking Mahomes.
Brownie has Mahomes.
So it was an internal struggle there. So sometimes I got a little sidetracked and the beer schedule didn't exactly fall in line. Sometimes there were some beers pushed ahead, and last weekend I got really drunk. Even though I won, I was still, it was a nail biter for me the whole week. So when you're planning your day, what are you like? Do you have your beer and your food match up? Is the beer in the food? How are you? How's that work for you?
See, this is what I love about football. So you start off. Football starts when it's warm weather.
Yeah.
So usually, I'm just gonna go lagers the whole time. Cold one, high hops, great. I love they come in 30 packs. I'll probably do that's
the cold one. Yeah.
The cold one. That's right there is the Sunday beer at the start of the season. Now, usually beer won't go in the food because I'll be barbecuing. I'll make, for lunch I'll be grilling something so I could watch the Eagles game. Hamburgers, hot dogs, stuff like that. So nothing gets mixed. But when it starts getting cooler right about now, I'm looking at chili.
Yeah.
I might go get that habanero, honeyed from them, and
there you go.
Throw that in the chili a little bit, and then start mixing some of the beers in with when you start, actually doing some stove and oven cooking.
Yeah.
So it I don't really plan enough unless I have a beer that I know is going to go well with food.
Yeah.
Usually it's just, I try to keep myself that I could remember the Sunday night game. So I will usually do like a nice lower percentage lager or even a session IPA throughout the day. And then towards the end of the night, switch it up to maybe like an 8% IPA or a juicy. And then if not, depends on who's playing at night, maybe a barrel age. If, Eagles play at night, I want to stay coherent. So it will be lagers until the Sunday night game. And then I may pop something heavier open towards the night.
Yeah.
So, but that's how I go. But if I want to go spicy, I have to have an IPA somewhere.
Yeah.
I got to throw an IPA in the mix because with me, if it's spicy wings or something like that, I have to counteract that with an IPA.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I like the hops. The bitterness on the hops kind of cuts the spice on foods. Well, I reached out to the Hopheads and Beer Geeks, the patrons only Facebook group that we have, and Patrick, he says Isolation Ale and my homemade chili is his go-to football watching, and he's a Broncos fan, unfortunately. So yeah, Isolation Ale and my homemade chili, which just happens to also feature Isolation Ale as well. And for those of you that don't know, Isolation Ale is Odell's winter
like spiced.
Yeah, it's like it's a strong ale. Yeah. It's a big beer. Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean,
that's probably good.
If you're a Broncos fan, that's probably a good thing right now because
you probably have like at least 13 of those in your belly.
13 days. Yeah, 13 beers, and you're feeling pretty good by the end of the Broncos game. You don't remember all this dumb stuff that they've done, but yeah, I mean, I think that's a good match. So a little bit of chili, a little bit of Isolation Ale. I think that's a good pairing. And not to mention, Isolation Ale it's got like a lot of spices and strong sweetness to it. And I personally like my chili to be a little sweet and a little hot. Like a little bit of spice to it, but a little bit of sweetness to it. Yeah. So I usually add like a lot of brown sugar to mine to give it that little sweet. But then I put a lot of jalapenos in there too. So
do you ever drink brown sugar while you're eating your chili?
So I actually did used to put brown sugar in my so Lagunitas brown sugar. I used to put that in my chili. Now I lean more towards just a good solid stout in my chili. But I'm not gonna lie, last time I put Maker's Mark in my chili, and I think that might be my new go-to.
So my wife has taken over the chili duties because she's done a great job. She puts tequila in the chili. Oh. And we put a stout in there. I was almost tempted. I had one of them. I thought just go for it. It'd probably make one hell of a chili. Probably be an expensive chili. Mexican medianoche to throw in the chili. And I was like, and I couldn't do it. It's just one of those things. But you taste that beer and how smooth it is and how it has all the spices.
Yep.
That you're like, oh, this would be so good in the chili. But I just want to drink it.
Yeah.
I don't want it to go in the waste like that. And I have done a waste beer like that. And it was for her birthday. I had a vanilla medianoche, and she drank a little bit, and she goes, "Oh, this would be so good with ice cream." I'm like, "Okay."
Let's do it.
I put it on ice cream for her, and she loved it. And I was like, "Yeah, that was probably the most expensive root beer float I've ever had in my whole entire life." I gave we were supposed to split the bottle of it, and I was like, "No, if you love it so much, just get out some ice cream. Let's throw it on there. Here's the whole bottle. It's all yours."
Right.
And I just watched her enjoy the whole thing, and I was like, this
little single tear rolled down your face.
Sucks, but it makes her so happy that it's my most expensive beer float I'll probably ever buy and never get to try.
I think with tailgating, it's all about the beer and the food. And I think the matchup of beer and food with the right barbecue is really important when you're tailgating. But also making sure that you're not getting too strong a beer.
Oh, yeah.
So that when you go into the game, you're not completely wasted.
A little too faded. You know, and I'm with you on that. Like, but it also has to go in the time of the year. So if it's a little bit colder out, I'm going to be going towards the BA Stout. I probably won't be slamming it.
Yeah.
And not be drinking like the 5% lagers, you know, that I was in, you know, early September at a tailgating thing. You know, I'll probably be having one BA Stout because I know when I go in the game, I'm going to want beers, and, you know, game beers are expensive. You know, stadium beers, they're going to cost you a little bit.
Yeah.
So you might as well get that nice balance going so you don't have to spend the money. But hey, you know, we went to the CSU game and we had the old Aggies.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Smooth.
Those things are good. Yeah. And, you know, when you go to CSU Stadium, because they have the beer garden, you know, the New Belgium beer garden right there, you got to go for an old Aggie. You just got to. I mean, it's a really awesome lager, really well made. It's a tribute to CSU, so you just feel like you got to do it.
But as you're drinking it, it's a really good football beer.
It is, yeah.
You know, it went well with the whole atmosphere of what we were doing there, watching football, enjoying the camaraderie of friends, and texting our buddy from Arkansas as CSU came back and kicked our ass.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that part of it.
So that was a whole fun part right there. Like, even it was already past last call, and we're like, oh, we should probably go and get a beer. No, wait. They're coming back. Let's sit here.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And, you know, CSU isn't the only brewery that has kind of embraced serving beer at their stadiums. I think there's a growing number of college stadiums now that are now serving beer. CSU is the only one in Colorado. But, you know, nationwide, there's a lot of stadiums that have college stadiums that have kind of taken advantage of the fact that they realize there's some money to be made here from having a craft brewery in our stadium.
Some of those guys that open the breweries happen to go to that college that's right down the road.
Yeah.
And they, you know, they support their team. They're decked out. Every Saturday they have the game on in their brewery, you know. And the only reason they have it on their brewery is because they have to work in their tap room to keep their place open.
Yeah.
You know, they're like the little mom and shop bakery places down the road. They can't close down. They have to stay open during game day, but they're, you know what they're going to have going on? They're going to have that TV on to that game. So so it is nice to see that, you know, it is one of those craft breweries bring communities together, and I love seeing that. So like everybody, we used to go to the CSU games. It would just be Budweiser. That's it. Budweiser, Coors.
Yeah.
And to see New Belgium be able to put their, you know, footprint in that stadium is awesome.
Yeah. And Wyoming has started serving beer in their stadium now. University of Wyoming has started serving beer in their stadium now. They still don't have Melvin in there yet, but I think it's only a matter of time.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
If they put Melvin in there, a lot more people would probably go to football games.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, there's a lot of stadiums on the East Coast, like, you know, Ohio State. Actually, there's a lot of them in Ohio that serve beer. A lot of them in the South, you know, like Alabama, Georgia State, South Florida, University of Miami, you know, those all serve beer in their stadiums. And so it's something that I think more college stadiums need to just, embrace. Allow people to have some beer.
I mean, well, that's the whole thing. Like, when we went to the CSU game, I thought the last call was going to be at the end of the third quarter. It was at the end of the half.
It's always been the end of a half. We
had
that discussion before we walked in.
I know. I thought, you know, it's the end of the... No, it's the end of the half. No, I thought seventh inning, it's the fifth.
I'm pretty sure they call it at the end of the second.
It's not Little League, man. So, but it did have to. You had to plan your thing out, and I thought, man, you had to have a whole half of football where you can't fucking have a beer,
Yeah.
But NFL, let's say they end the third in the NFL, right?
Yeah, it's typically like the end of the third. Yeah. I'm just looking at this list, and Mountain West Conference has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 breweries, 7 breweries, or 7 stadiums that serve beer.
Nice.
So apparently, Mountain West Conference is the shit. We're the best conference, clearly. I mean,
when your school has a brewery inside the place, and then New Belgium as your like end zone.
Yeah.
Hey,
but that gets me thinking that our next beercation needs to coincide with a game at San Diego State.
Oh yeah.
Go to San Diego, hit up some breweries, go to the game on Saturday, maybe hit some more breweries up Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, stay maybe through Sunday, come home Monday morning. Sounds like a pretty good beercation to me.
Hey man, we did a Vegas trip where we went to go see CSU versus UNLV.
Right.
So I think that throwing football into a mix for a beercation, it'd be awesome. Doesn't matter if you like the team or not. Just go fucking see them.
Yeah.
Go check out a new stadium. Because that's the whole thing. Like, I love football so much, but I love seeing... It's like going to a stadium is like going to a new brewery. All of them are different. All stadiums are different. Now, we had that talk is when CSU built that stadium on their campus and they moved from, the old field. We're like, why did you do that? The old field was awesome. You're up on the field. It's beautiful. It's a great stadium. But then we went to the game. We're like, this is fucking awesome. This is a really cool stadium. I could see why you did this. I'm not judging anymore. This is like, I'll come back for more games. Like when next year when my wife goes, hey, we got the season tickets. Do you want any games? I'm be like, yeah.
Right.
Here's a list. You give me those games because I want to go to a lot more.
Yeah.
Because I was against it. I was completely 100% against it until I went to the stadium and I'm like, holy shit, this is awesome. I want to go more to games. So.
The new stadium is beautiful.
Yeah.
I still don't like that. It's still kind of a hassle to get to. I mean, you gotta take the bus, then walk like a mile and a half to the stadium, I mean, I kind of liked being able, well, not that I do it much anymore, but I used to go and tailgate. I'd get there early and tailgate in the parking lot, and that stadium had the best tailgating, huge parking lot.
The parking lot was a tailgate. It was the hugest part of the
giant dirt parking lot, right in the foothills, and, at that time I was living down in that area. It was like a 30-minute walk to walk to the stadium. Mm-hmm. So it was great. So I still have my qualms with it, but I think overall the new stadium it's a lot easier to get around in, and it's a beautiful stadium. Yeah. It really is. So yeah, I was pissed off about it at first, but I'm all about it now. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, when we left that game against Arkansas, I was like, we got to do this again. We got to go to another game. Like, I'm loving this, man.
We should get the tickets already. Can we go to next week? Like, no. Like, she goes, what tickets do you want? And I was just, Arkansas. That's all I want. That's all I want. Yeah. That's all. Nothing else. I was like, no. I could.
But at the same time, I was on the high of the win, and we haven't been winning a whole lot of games this season. So, I mean, we basically have to win out to even have a shot at a bowl game.
Yeah.
So... And then we got 3 more games left this season, so I don't think that's gonna.
Yeah, probably not.
That's probably not gonna happen.
I think next year I'd like to go at least 2 to 3. For me, as I'm not the college, like I miss the old. I've done the college days tailgating. As an older dude, I like it right there where I can meet friends in Old Town.
Yeah.
And sit and relax and have a conversation without freaking college kids yelling and screaming and being assholes.
Yeah.
and then take a bus down. It was a crammed bus, but it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
It really wasn't that bad. Honestly, to me, the worst part of it is the fact that you have to walk like in this mass of people a mile, a little over a mile, like to the stadium.
The drunken, college students.
Although walking back, the guy that was basically falling all over himself.
Yeah, it's right down the road. What do you ask her? I don't know.
I have no idea what he asked. Right down the road. I still don't know what he said to this day.
Obviously, it's probably down the road. But with football, it has to have beer, and I'm glad more stadiums are starting to do that. I understand where there has to be a tipping point. We did have where the CSU went dry for a while. They had those alcohol poisoning tests on campus.
Yeah.
And it but I think with New Belgium being right there and them being responsible, and the stadium was awesome. I loved it. I thought it was a great plan.
Yeah.
But I'm on your point. Like, if you plan a vacation, you either plan it around. If you do a fall one, plan around a college football game or an NFL game.
An NFL game. So if there was an NFL game that you would want to go do, that you would want to see, maybe somewhere where the Eagles are going to play, what would that, like, what town would it, I mean, Philadelphia obviously would be a pretty sweet beercation. Yeah. But if it wasn't in Philadelphia, where would you go?
Like, save the money if they would, let's say, travel down. Well, one, I don't want to go to anywhere else that they play like NFC East rival. So you got to count out Dallas, Washington, and New York.
Okay.
I don't want to be a visitor in people that don't like the actual, because
Washington could be a tough one, because Washington would be a cool city to go and have, a little beercation / ball game.
I'm not going to do it because I'm going with my Eagles gear, and I know people hate me. But if you do somewhere where like it's an AFC team that they only play every 4 years,
right?
That'd be something different. So, I'd probably do like a Houston or an Indianapolis. That would be tops because it's downtown Indy.
Yeah,
that right there would be a freaking good game, and a great place to go. Like that would probably be my top choice right there because I'm thinking of all of the AFC, less Miami. Getting warmer weather. Houston, San Diego's always out there, but I don't like the fucking Chargers. And
what about Boston?
Fucking hate Boston. I'm not a big Patriots, but it would be nice to go back to Boston because I went out there for 2 years. Yeah. But I don't know. What are you thinking? Like, let's say we could choose. Let's say there's an NFL game we could go to in 2 weeks. Thanksgiving Day. I don't know who's playing. Dallas and Detroit always play.
Dallas and Detroit always play.
Out of Dallas and Detroit, where would you want to go?
I think I'd rather go to Detroit.
Yeah.
I think the beers would be a little bit better. I've never been to Detroit. I've always wanted to go there. I think I'd have to choose Detroit.
Okay.
But if I could go anywhere, I really would like to go and watch a game in Washington. If I could go and watch the Chiefs play Washington, I honestly I wouldn't have a problem walking around in Chiefs gear in Washington. I mean, that wouldn't really bother me. It would just be the fact that they're kind of rivals. Like, they play each other a couple times during the season. They have a good rivalry going on. When I was a kid growing up, I had one side of my family that was Chiefs fans. I had one side of my family that was Rams fans. And it seemed like every time I went to a Chiefs game with that side of my family, it was always against the Seahawks. And to me, that would have like some sentimental to it too. Like going back and being like, I've always seen him at Arrowhead. I want to go see him in Seattle. Plus, their new stadium, from what I hear, is fucking insane. So that would be pretty cool to see too.
Well, the one stadium I did drive by when I was down in Atlanta was the Falcon Stadium. Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Yeah.
That freaking thing. The Bird's Nest.
Yeah.
That's one place I would like to go. I don't know. I don't like Atlanta. They're all right team. I'm not a Falcons fan, but that would be a cool game to go to. Just to go see that kind of stadium.
Yeah.
And when I was doing research about this, so Atlanta is doing a craft beer pale lager or pale ale for $5 at the stadium. It's a locally brewed. They change it up all the time who brews it, but it's always $5 for a 12-ounce beer, $7 for a 20-ounce beer, all season long at their stadium.
Really?
Yeah. So they're the one of the that have embraced craft beer, and they always have a local pale ale on tap at their stadium during football games.
That's pretty cool.
The funny thing is, they also put a Chick-fil-A in that place. And Chick-fil-A is always closed on Sundays.
Yeah.
And everybody laughed about it. It's like, wait, that is awesome, but dude, wait a minute. They're never going to be open unless for Monday night games.
Yeah.
So
now I'm convinced that Detroit would definitely be the place to go. Inside Detroit Stadium, you can find Bell's, New Holland, Founders, Atwater, Liberty Ales, and Shorts Brewing Company, all on tap within the stadium. So, hands down, between Dallas and there, that would be the place to go.
Oh, yeah.
Not to mention that that Detroit actually does their own beer flight that you can get. They're one of the first stadiums to introduce a flight of beer that you can go and get at the stadium and go and take it to your seat.
That'd be kind of cool, but
that's fucking awesome, dude.
It'd be weird. Where would you put that?
On your lap or in your gut.
Well, you don't really store stuff on your lap. Chair. Shit's going everywhere.
Maybe they have like a special cup holder for
that
the flight.
That would be really cool. It's like little mini cup holders in front of you to put your flight on.
Yeah.
I would do that. That would make billions of dollars.
Yeah. Dude, I think that would be cool. I mean, I could drink Founders all fucking day.
Fuck yeah. Two-hearted?
No, that's Bell's. KBS?
Oh, yeah.
If they had KBS on tap?
Yeah. People would be hammered.
I doubt they have KBS on tap.
They'd have to do last call after first quarter. They'd be like, that's the first quarter. Remember, this is last call for KBS.
Dude, what if they had Dragon's Milk on tap?
Oh, fuck. Dude,
fucking, that'd be
ridiculous.
It'd be pretty sweet. And, Liberty Ales makes some really fucking good, like ambers and pale ales.
We watching the game, we'd just be running this. Have you guys even seen the score?
What was the score of the game?
The game started?
There was a game. Shit.
Sometimes you do go to just to see the field, and I don't know. There's sometimes I went to the game and didn't really care about the game. I just wanted to see what the stadium was and what kind of beers they had on tap and what they offered. So, for NFL, one of those lists you have, if you're talking about like beercation, if you want to make a weekend, Green Bay has to be, Wisconsin. That if you have a chance to go to the game.
I mean, Wisconsin's just a beer place.
I know.
I mean, it's just got so much beer history.
I think as you come off of a plane, they just hand you a beer.
Yeah.
Welcome
and
to Wisconsin.
Some cheese.
Here's your cheese and beer. Welcome. Are you staying for some football?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what we came over to drink beer. I need some cheese.
Yeah.
I'm going to go home fucking hungover and bloated. Lambeau Field, that's the whole thing. It's like...
Yeah. That's a stadium that I would love to go to just because it has so much history. I mean, there's very few stadiums that are left that are like old. They're like the old original original stadium, and I agree. That's a field that you just need to go and check out. So,
but it happens that they have a shit ton of really.
Just so happens that they have beer too. So there's been some NFL players who have really been into craft beer as well. Some that have even opened up their own breweries. Miami Dolphins' Josh Sitton opened up his own brewery. So he opened up a brewery in his hometown in Pensacola. One of the Denver Broncos players, one of their linemen, Jared Veldheer, he is an award-winning homebrewer.
Oh, really?
He's actually won some awards, and for like the gift exchange one Christmas, whenever he was in Arizona, he bought a homebrew kit, and he bought it intentionally with like, because his wife wouldn't let him get one, and he wanted one, so he bought it for the gift exchange, hoping that nobody would take it. Sure enough, nobody took it, so he ended up taking it home and brewing beer, and he's won some awards for his home brews. So everybody loves craft beer. Doesn't matter if you're an athlete, if you're a fat guy like us. I mean, it's what it's all.
I have a prediction. Not going to be this year. It's not going to be next year. Maybe 5 years down the road. Maybe 4. We're going to have a CSU quarterback. That's pretty awesome. But he's going to win a GABF medal. Because he's going to be studying brewery science.
Brewery science. That very easily could happen, man.
Think about that. Like, they're probably not going to go to a national championship, but maybe they win the Mountain West. And people are talking about, like, oh, man, he's a really good quarterback, but you got to try his IPA. You know,
that very easily could happen.
that could be one hell of an ESPN story right there, you know.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, CSU had probably one of the first brewery science, like, dedicated programs in the nation. New Belgium donated a whole lot of money to them. They basically have like a mega high dollar brew house in the college that they're teaching, brewery sciences on.
So it has changed that if you want to learn to brew, Fort Collins is one of those places you want to go.
Yeah.
It used to be like, if you want to order brewery, like, people used to go to like Europe and study for a year or 2 and then come back and open their brewery.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, I went to CSU, you know?
Yeah.
And so
like for Jared Veldheer, he was a biology major in college, so it just came naturally to him to be a brewer. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I totally think that you're right. It could very easily have a quarterback or a player period that comes through CSU, maybe not on a scholarship, but at least a player at CSU that they don't win a championship, but they win a GABF.
Yeah. It might be something that like a linebacker or a lineman be like, he's one hell of a tackle, but you got to try his IPA. It's going to be one of those stories of like, so I started brewing and I came, my dad was a home brewer and it's going to have this whole background, and we got a chance to brew a beer and we sent it down to GABF and we won a gold medal for it.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to happen. If it happens here, it'll make like this huge story and stuff like that. So
yeah, I think it's very likely. It's very possible that.
But there's always that rumor that New Belgium wanted to put their name on that stadium and people were against it.
I'm sure there were people against it. So, I don't know. You're always going to have people that are against something. I mean,
a college stadium and you're sponsored by a beer company.
Yeah. I mean, we basically have a beer garden in CSU Stadium.
Yeah.
So, so did you ever have, Factotum Brewery did a beer as a tribute to Peyton Manning whenever he retired.
Oh yeah.
Oatmaha. And I never had it. It was really popular, but I never got to try it. But there's a lot of beers like that too. Like there's a lot of beers that are like tributes to athletes.
There was a brewery in Steamboat that did what's the guy that always kneeled down from Florida, the quarterback, Tim Tebow.
Tebow, yeah.
They did a taking knee beer, like they praying to God beer. So
see, now that's a good respectable reason to take a knee.
Yeah, so that's all the funny thing. Like they did a beer on tribute to him, and and proceeds went to some charity. And dude, like once he found out about it, he was like, "Oh yeah, that's fine." Like because he owned his own image, he had it copyrighted. So they're using it. He just like, no. Wait, so I don't care you make the beer as long as, stuff's going to charity. And they're like, yeah. That's why we're doing it. We thought it was going to, was funny, but we wanted to make money for a fundraiser.
Right,
and
yeah.
He was like, okay, that's fine. He was totally down to earth about it. So, you get like different like football themes. And so there was one thing last year that there was a brewery in Dallas that made Eagles Tears.
Eagles Tears, yeah.
So a brewery, I can't remember, it started with the W, but I got a can of it, and it was called Dallas Sucks. And of course, I drank that while the Eagles beat Dallas last year on the Sunday night game.
I gotta see who made that one.
Started with the W. But you have that right now. You have diehard fans that own breweries that are,
Weyerbacher Brewing Company. Yep. Yeah.
But I like their logo was all right. But if you look up Eagles Tears can is probably like, as much as I hate it, is like they really went full out on their can decal. Like their imagery went well.
Oh yeah, it's like it's a beat up eagle.
Yeah,
with
crying.
Like tears just like coming everywhere. Yeah.
Nowadays, now you never hear about this. Is when two teams go to the Super Bowl. It used to be like, oh hey, it's Boston and Seattle, and Boston, if they lose, they're gonna send the Seattle mayor some lobster, and if Seattle loses, they're gonna send him something. Now it's like, oh hey, if Boston loses, they're gonna send this heady topper fucking something, treehouse. And it's all become craft beer wise, and then craft breweries are like, hey, we did a collaboration with you, but your team's in the Super Bowl and our team's in the Super Bowl. How about we do this? And so,
well, it's not just NFL. I mean, there's
college football,
baseball. There's been a ton.
Basketball.
There was a brewery that made whenever LeBron James left Cleveland, they made a beer as like a not a tribute to him, but like a kind of a in your face to him, Yeah. I mean, I think it was called like Quietness or something like that. Like it was, I mean, so I don't know. It's Great Lakes made that beer, and so I mean, it's it's not just football, really. I mean, there's breweries out there. Really, I think a lot of brewers are sports fans.
Oh yeah.
So,
and breweries are almost turning into not in like hints of a sports restaurant because they don't serve food, but they always have the local game on.
Yeah. Well,
and if they're not local fans like Wibby, those guys are local. Some local guys, but some Chicago guys.
Yeah.
So when it came
huge Cubs fans,
when it came to the Rockies Cubs, playoff game, they were like torn. But they had the game. You knew the game was going to be on. And everybody was going to be paying attention.
Yeah.
So you get that little. You go into it almost became you'd always have to find that your local, like the Philadelphia bar in Denver or something like that. Now you've tried to find that little brewery that you happen to go to, because I told you I went to Ursula and they're all they're Ohio people.
Ohio, yeah.
So I bought Kenny that.
There's a bar in Denver that actually has a lot of really good craft beer on tap that they're all Green Bay fans.
Yeah.
And we found that during GABF. We Sean and I were walking around downtown and we kept seeing all these Green Bay jerseys, and they were all converging in this one place. And he and I both just kind of looked at each other and were like, we need to follow these jerseys and see what's going on.
Where the hell are these guys going?
Sure enough, we walk into this little dive bar that had 6 taps, and 5 of them were craft beer. The other one was Coors Light. And I was like, that's pretty fucking awesome. I mean, granted, there's a lot of fucking Green Bay players in here. Like, Sean couldn't take it. Sean was like, no, I can't. There's too many cheeseheads. We got to get out of here. But, him being a Steelers fan, it didn't work out too well.
But I think that's the whole thing it's going, like, if I owned a tap house, I think if I had like a 52 tap house, all craft beer, I would always have the Eagles on Sunday. And if the Eagles played Houston, trust me, if I got any beer from Houston, they wouldn't be going on. I'm not going to be serving
and do it like blatantly.
Oh yeah,
where like the tap is like, oh, we still have it tapped, but I pulled the handle for today.
We don't drink that on Sunday.
It's sacrilege.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Oh, you have a Houston brewery? I grew up there. I don't care.
You're not getting it.
You're going to get something from over here. I'd probably do that. Like, it would be so bad, but people would probably, like, you'd probably want to go there just to see what, oh man, they're going to play. I want to see if he, they're playing Green Bay. I want to see if he takes New Holland off. Let's just go. It's going to be funny, Yeah. I'd do it. I would just be like, nope, no New Holland today. Fuck you guys. We went to our cities I wanted to go to see NFL games. You had Detroit. Any other ones?
Washington. Yeah, definitely like to go to Washington, and honestly, I wouldn't mind going back home and going to Kansas City and watching a game there. There's a lot of good breweries that are popping up in the Kansas City area.
I mean, this whole thing about breweries are popping up almost everywhere.
Yeah,
that you're going to see a lot of stadiums fighting that. I'm waiting for that one stadium that place that needs a stadium, and they open a brewery inside the stadium.
And honestly, so after going to Jacksonville earlier this year, I wouldn't mind going down to Florida and making like a multi-stop, and going to Jacksonville, catching a game there, and
hopefully catch a Monday night game in Miami.
Yeah, and then catch like a Monday night game in Miami. Like to me, that would be really cool because you've got a lot going on down in Florida, and I don't know that would be easy to do.
Or even going early, you catch the Thursday night game in Miami. You catch an early Sunday game in Tampa and a Monday night game in Jacksonville.
Yeah. If you could time it, I guarantee you there's some point in the schedule that you can make that work.
Planets aligned that you're like, football weekend. I'm not going to remember this for shit.
Yeah, and it may be 3 games with teams that you don't give a shit about. But who cares, man?
Oh, yeah.
I've been to Broncos games, and I'm not a Broncos fan. I'm not a Broncos hater unless I'm with somebody who's a Broncos fan.
Yeah.
I honestly could give a shit otherwise. But it's always fun to make fun of a Broncos fan when they're around.
When they're getting their asses kicked.
I've been to probably a dozen Broncos games, and I always have a good time.
Yeah.
Always have a good time. So it doesn't matter what I'm watching. If it's football, I will find something or someone to root for. And most likely it's going to be whatever the most excitement is around. When I go to a stadium that I don't really give a shit about either team, I'm going to root for the team that has the most excitement around.
Oh yeah.
The team that's maybe the underdog, or the team that has a player that's just a fucking beast that you just really want to see him kill it against another really good team. That's what I like about football. That's what I want to see.
But I also do, for me, sometimes it's just going to see the stadium.
Yeah.
I could go to a freaking Chicago Bears, Detroit Lions game. I don't give a shit about either one of those teams. I just want to go to this fucking Chicago stadium because that shit is old as shit, right? But you're seeing like the fans getting really enthused about it, and you're just like, wait, who do I cheer for? Because I think if I go, because I have the Detroit quarterback in fantasy, and if it goes for a touchdown, I say, yeah, I think this guy's going to deck me. But he already bought me a beer because I'm wearing this shirt.
You know what? That even makes it so much better. If the guy decks you and buys you a beer.
I know. That's what I love about football. Like, you just kind of get over it. Like, dude, like, oh, hey, it was a good game, but we had a couple beers, and you just let it go and just walk out the stadium.
Yeah.
I just love, dude, it's like every stadium's like a brewery to me. It is going to be something different.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them out there. There's some I really don't care about going to, but I think there's some on the list that are just a racing craft beer. So it's gonna. I bet you we see it in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
We see somebody that opens a stadium and then like we put a brewery inside of it because you got to think about it. They're not, fully going, all the time. If you had a brewery in there, people are going to go and you could see the. Let's say if you had not the glass house going and seeing the brew house, but seeing the field.
Right.
Would you go to a brewery that's at the stadium, even if the stadium is not having anything going on? In the summer, you could go and sit and you could see the whole football field right next to you.
Yeah.
That'd be a fucking cool experience.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I think it would reignite a lot of excitement around football.
Oh, yeah.
And, I know a lot of people who have stopped watching NFL because of the political aspects that have kind of come up over the last couple of years. And I have my own personal opinion about that. But it honestly hasn't changed my mind about how much I love watching football.
Oh yeah.
So it's a sport that I was never really good at, but I loved playing.
Oh yeah.
And so I appreciate athletes that are good at it, So
yeah, I watch football from kickoff to the end of the game. That's
no matter how bad, whether it's a blowout or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've sat through, my team was losing 45-0. I sat there and I went to the bourbon barrel aged stouts. All my sorrows in.
Yeah.
And it should be called the new Eagles Tears.
I'm not that way with baseball. Like, I don't watch baseball the same way I watch football.
Yeah.
For me, baseball a lot of time is just like background noise. I love watching baseball, but for me, I'll have it on while I'm doing something else. And if the game gets out of control, if it's a 7-1 game, I usually will like turn it off and watch something else.
So that's the whole thing with baseball. You could really just have it in the background because you could be over here and then it's like, oh, there's the first pitch. Oh, it's a ball. Second pitch, it's a ball. Oh, you got a foul. You got a piece of that. Oh, foul ball. And you kind of like do this little turnaround, look at the TV. Fuck. Okay. Second pitch. Oh, foul ball.
Yeah, I mean, you're right.
And you're like, fucking quit making a big deal about the foul ball. And you're just sitting there waiting for like, oh, and you're just waiting. Like, come on, just fucking strike this guy out, motherfucker. I've said that, and basketball is the same way. Like, I cheer and cheer, but it really comes down to like the end. Like, they play 100 games.
Yeah.
The first fucking 50 don't count, man. I'm sorry to say. You go 50-0 and you're still not going to make the goddamn playoffs.
Yeah.
So that's what I love about football because every game matters. Right?
It really does.
It does.
Yeah.
You could go and you could kick everybody's ass, but lose your division.
Yeah.
You're not making the fucking playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at basketball and like hockey.
Yeah.
Hockey started back in September.
Oh, yeah.
And really the games aren't really mattering until maybe late December, early January. And even then it's like, oh, well, they still have 20 more games. I mean,
and then they go in the playoffs and there's another 2 games into the playoffs that they can figure out a champion. So the football, it's one and done. When you watch a game and you're like, fuck, this is it, dude. You have to play to win.
Yeah.
It's not a 7-game series. Oh, I lose this one, but we could win fucking the next 4 and we go to the championship.
How exhausting would that be?
Oh, fucking football. There'd be guys so tired, be like, I should have took up brewing science. God, I had a scholarship to CSU. My fucking stout is killer.
I could have been a brewery $100,000
I could have been the next Neil Fisher. That's the one thing you'll see. It's like, we go to a Wild and be like, holy shit, there's like a 6'4", 350 guy there. And you're like,
we got a bouncer now? Oh no, he's our new lead brewer.
Really? He's like, oh yeah, I'm UNC. I'm a lineman. Okay. Like
that's a point though. UNC has a brewing program too, so there's another college that could possibly have a brewer football player.
But wait, he gives you his beer, fucking bad diacetyl off the charts. You go, and he goes, "How's it? I brewed it," and you go, "What are you gonna say? Nope, that's my ball, man. That's shit." I can see your ass getting thrown out the big window right onto 8th Street.
Let me explain to you what diacetyl is, sir.
Let me tell you something about brewing. Like, what? It's like, dude, that guy protects the quarterback. He will kill you. Oh, no, I don't taste shit. It's good. That's Neil Fisher's next way. He's like...
You're like gagging it now. You know what? I'm going to have another one of those.
Are you guys kidding that? Because you could mark me down for a case. Good guy. Neil Fisher's going to take that idea. He's going to find that lineman that's interested in brewing something. This is like, I need an intern.
Yeah.
And all those fucker people that talk shit about, oh, we had to stand in line for an hour. Hey, this is our line complete.
We need the intimidator.
Like, no, I don't mind sitting in line anymore.
He makes a beer called the Intimidator. Well, what is it? It's a passion fruit grape. It's a passion fruit goza. It's his favorite beer. It's pink.
It's pretty much Gatorade. It is. That's all we do. We just pour out Gatorade.
His favorite drink is red Gatorade. So we basically make a beer that looks and tastes as close to red Gatorade as we can.
I see. I actually predict the next 5 years, maybe not CSU or UNC or something. You're gonna have some kind of bowl game where one of the guys that are into brewing that they just mentioned, like, he's one of a block. He won't have a blocker, but he makes a great IPA. You know, like it's gonna be like, and he's gonna have the whole setup in his garage, and I
hope so. That'd be cool to see.
That'd be fucking awesome to see, dude. It should be on one of the freaking brewing shows that people travel around and, you know, brew beers with people. It'd be awesome to be like, you know, you may recognize this guy until he puts on his helmet and like he is like a fucking offensive guard for Ohio State or something. And you're like, holy shit, that is fucking awesome. He brews beer, but he fucking plays football. You know?
Yeah.
Now you got to think of the life you take. Do I want multiple concussions and make millions of dollars, or open a brewery?
All right, Hotbeds and Beer Geeks, you heard it here first. Brownie's prediction for the future of craft beer.
Yep.
We will have at least one NFL player.
No, one college football
player who is a craft brewer.
Oh, yeah.